Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Garner for this Tuesday, May the 22nd, 2018. Good to have you all here for our first and only show this week. Sorry about the late start. Got a little hung up. A lot of things going on, family-wise and stuff. So I don't want to get into it, but anyway, that's why I'm late. So let's not waste time. Let's just get going. As always, just because look, I'm already ending the show. See how it's been that kind of day. It's been that kind of day. As always, to start off the show, let me remind you all the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show, have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember to use the hashtag itspotlight411 for anything you tweet regarding our show. And of course, you can find us on Facebook. Just search for In Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our page once you're on it or once you find it. All right, so we have a lot to do. Well, not a lot to do, but there's a couple of things that, we got to get done. Obviously, we'll do our usual entertainment stuff, box office beat, TV highlights. We'll touch on, we did the upfront stuff last week. We'll touch on the rest of it. I think it's basically what CBS and CW. I think we did everything else. So we'll just touch on it. We're not going to do a lot with it, maybe like a couple minutes, because there really isn't nothing earth shattering after all we talked about last week. So again, just be very minimal at best with that. So we'll finish that off and just kind of top it off. Wrestling wise, we'll go quickly through what's going on with WWE. I didn't put in the show description, including the TV deal situation. I should have put in the show description, but I didn't. But we'll talk about that. And then on the sports side, we're only going to do NBA playoffs. It's nothing pressing that we have to do in MLB right now, so no sense in wasting time doing it. I'll touch on the stuff with the horse racing and what happened with the Preakness and all that. I'll do briefly mention something with that, and then that'll be it. So we don't have a lot. We're going to try to get off the air as quickly as possible because it is late. Again, I apologize for that. So we're going to try to go and get off the air as quickly as we possibly can here tonight. Because I do know it's a late hour, and I know that, and I also know too, and I was already planning on this show being pretty quick because of the holiday coming up. And I know it's not a holiday today, Memorial Day weekend, it's not till later this week, but, I know people are kind of busy, and when you get to these weeks, I know it's better to just try to be quick if you can. And that's what I'm going to try to do here tonight. Try to be as quick as possible and kind of just get to everything we have to get to, and then, let's get us off the air. That's pretty much what I'm going to be doing here tonight. So, well, we'll do what we've done the last few weeks, which is start off in entertainment with the box office. And I'm not going to, even though it's Memorial Day weekend and it's traditionally a big box office weekend, it's not going to take us very long to kind of talk about that. So we'll do that first, and then we'll kind of jump around and get to the stuff we have to get to and all that good stuff. So, so it's not a very special show here, but one that it's basically our usual stuff. So that's all you really need to know. Again, we continue our summer schedule. We'll be on only one day a week through the summer. So just keep that in mind here as we go forward. And that's it. So let's just get going. Let's jump into the box office as we start off here on a weekend that you're going to see a lot of negative headlines about. It's a weekend that people are going to say, featured a movie that in people's minds, they feel underperformed. I don't think it did, but people feel like it did. And that's Deadpool 2. Now, the first film, if you recall, I think made 130 million in its opening weekend. Yeah, I made 130 million in its opening weekend. So, when you bring a sequel out, and especially when you move it to summer, people's expectations get high. And we've talked about that over the years. That's happened a couple times. Well, it didn't. In many people's eyes, it didn't meet expectations. There were people saying it would make 150 to 200 million, and it didn't do that. It didn't do that. So, not 150 to like 170, and it didn't do that. Now, I said it would go around 150, 160. Was I shocked it didn't? Kinda. But then I guess there's a part of me that maybe isn't so shocked because the competition is better in terms of Avengers, in terms of what's going on with Infinity War and the record-breaking streak that it's on. Black Panther's still making good money. So that plays a role. So you have to take that into account. Remember, when Deadpool came out, it came out over a holiday weekend. First Deadpool, over a holiday weekend, and it had no competition, kind of like Black Panther this past February. That doesn't take away from what they did, but it makes it easier to get more people that maybe would not have given your movie a chance, the chance to go see it. Now, a lot of things going on. People might have already spent money on Avengers a couple times. This weekend, Memorial Day weekend, they might be willing to wait to Memorial Day weekend to go see your film. Or, that there's a lot of reasons to take into account. So, there's things to take now is $125 million anything bad? No, it's not. It's not a bad thing at all. I always love it, and that people think $125 million opening, a little over $300 million worldwide total in its first weekend. How is that bad? The only reason why it's bad is because people overhype something and put these prognostications on a film, some of which are just way too heightened. Now, this was the expectations of this film were probably more reasonable than some other films that people just went crazy about. I remember when Age of Ultron came out a few years ago, and everybody thought, oh, it's gonna break these records. It's gonna do like double. I mean, it's gonna be like 20-30 million more than the first Avengers. And I thought those were obscene. I said, why would that do that? There's nothing. Yeah, I'm not saying the movie's bad. It's not. It's the first Avengers was a momentous event, just like Star Wars Force Awakens was a momentous event. Could those sequels have beaten the original? Sure, they could, but they had to do something different to do it, and none of them really did. They mostly just expanded upon what happened. Now, Infinity War is beating what Age of Ultron did and the first Avengers because it's a special thing. It's adding more characters into the Avengers universe, to see these characters interact with each other and to see them on screen together. And this momentous event, this ending of a 10-year journey, that's different. That's why you got more people coming to see it than Age of Ultron. And the same thing could go for Star Wars Episode 9. That's the last of this trilogy. That might get people out to see it. It's different. I'm not saying those, like I said, I'm not saying those sequels couldn't have done it, but it's a harder thing to do. You don't have, the last of a trilogy, you don't have to sell it as hard. The first movie after 30 years, you don't have to sell it as hard. A special crossover event or these superheroes on screen for the first time, you do not have to sell it as hard. And of course, it always depends on where you put it. A lot of people are blaming Fox, saying they were greedy, that they should have left the film in June. I don't think it would have made a difference with the way Infinity War is going and with the way Solo looks like it's going to go, because that Solo looks like it's turned around its PR compared to what it was a couple months ago. People thought it was going to be Disney's first Star Wars flop. Now, you could argue maybe, and we'll see what happens with Deadpool going forward here. If it doesn't ultimately end up doing as well in the long term, because here's the thing, it might not have had this great opening weekend, at least domestically. Internationally, I thought it was perfectly fine. It might not have had this great opening domestically, but what happens if next weekend it holds up very well and it kind of offsets that? Then you're right where you want to be. So much is put on the opening weekends nowadays. It's really not the opening weekend. It's because it's just a headline, and that maybe helps you sell your movie if people are on the fence about it. But it's really about where you end up. That matters, because that ultimately is going to decide the profit you made on that film. So that's what you got to look at. And if this movie ends up exceeding the original in any way, shape, or and it doesn't matter whether it's worldwide or domestically, because it's gonna, whatever way it does it, it's the total, right? Too much. We talked about this over the years. I'm not going to belabor the point. It doesn't matter where you make the money, whether it's internationally or domestic, as long as you make the money. And studios are realizing that now. Over the last couple of years, they've realized that there's more money internationally, and that's why you're seeing a lot of sequels. You're seeing a lot of movies made with no concern over the fact that domestically they might not do as well. It's a changing industry, more or less. So Deadpool launches to over 300 million worldwide, 125 million over here in the U.S. Um, Avengers continued to do its thing. Let's see the total 28 was it 28 million? Yeah, 29 million. Sorry, 29.4 million. Again, for its fourth week, that's tremendous. A 52% drop up, but you'd figure that in its fourth week. Right now, it's up to $595 million domestically, 1.2 million, 1.2 billion foreign. And it's put in 1.8 billion total, so it's well on its way to $2 billion. We'll see how far above it gets as we go along. Right now, it's fourth on the worldwide total list. For the domestic list right now for 2018, Black Panther's number one, Infinity War's number two. Some people don't think it'll beat Black Panther. I think it will, but we'll see how that ends up. But Avengers continues to make its way up the charts. There were two other movies besides Deadpool that opened last weekend. One of them was Book Club. It came in third with 13.5, which wasn't too bad. You know, but what I'd probably expected on the high end. Life of the Party dropped from second to fourth with 7.6 million, a 57% drop off there. Breaking in its second week dropped to 61% to 6.8 million, which is maybe a little bit better than I thought it would, dropping from third to fifth. And then Show Dogs came in sixth with a little over $6 million, which I think might be even a little bit better than I maybe thought it could end up, I think. But everything else finished under 5 million. But again, when you consider 125 million for Deadpool, almost 30 million for Avengers, and you know, it ends up being a good weekend just because those two movies alone. So all in all, it's a good box office weekend. Again, the negative that people are trying to spin here with Deadpool, I don't think it's a negative. I mean, I guess it's somewhat a negative because Deadpool did have the potential to get to that 150, 170. It didn't. But again, if it makes up the difference along the way, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't. Or if it makes it up internationally. If it ends up, if its worldwide total ends up being right in the range where they want, it doesn't matter how they get there. That's something that people forget. I mean, the opening weekend's nice for headlines and it's nice for PR, but that's all it's nice for. Oh, and the record books, of course, too. But that's all it's nice for. So as you head into the Memorial Day weekend, you know, we go into a Memorial Day weekend, which, as I mentioned last week, is a very different box office weekend than what we've seen. And maybe this is the result of the last few Memorial Day weekends being weaker than usual, with multiple movies underperforming in Memorial Day weekend. And maybe we're going to see that with 4th of July too. And now a lot of studios are like, we're not going to put multiple weekends 4th of July. Whoever gets that, you know, whoever gets that date first gets the luxury of maybe being the only movie opening that holiday weekend, because a lot of studios are afraid these, you know, the traditional holiday weekends in the summer have underperformed over the last few years. So now you're seeing them kind of stay away from it. Or if they see a movie already there, they're like, hey, you know what? You can have it. We'll move to the next weekend. It's interesting how this has developed. And this year, you're going to Memorial Day weekend, only one new film to be released. And of course, this film is a Star Wars film. So maybe that's why there's only one movie opening, because that has, you know, that and Marvel strikes the fear of God into a million studios now. But Solo, A Star Wars Story is the only major new film opening this weekend from Disney, and the action-adventure film opening over 4,380 theaters. Aaron Reich, is playing Han Solo this time around. Donald Glover, Emilia Clarke, Woody Harrelson, Thandie Newton, Paul Bettany, all in this film. Directed by Ron Howard, who took over this project after, you know, Phil Lord and Chris Miller were fired. This had a very complicated production, but they've seemed to shed that negativity. It's getting a lot of positive press now, so that most people feel like it'll get to the $150 million mark with the Memorial Day holiday. Probably stands to do that. It's probably a safe bet, especially with the summer and Memorial Day. So you're probably looking at about. Now the question is, does it get to 150 for the 3-day or 150 for the 4-day? My feeling is they'll get to 150 for the 4-day. That's my feeling. It might pull in maybe 120 for the 3. That's just my feeling on what I think it's going to do. So, but it should, but generally it should be around those numbers for those particular periods. So we have an expanding release in the form of How to Talk to Girls at Parties, a comedy drama from A24. It's only going to be in 2 theaters, so it's not a major release by any means. It's just expanding into those 2 theaters, so just keep that in mind. R-rated, Elle Fanning, Nicole Kidman and Ruth Wilson star in that film, so that will be expanding over the next few weeks, but it probably won't figure into too much of anything, so don't think it's going to matter much. So as you look at this weekend at the box office, I'm not going to give you 3-day and 4-day. I'm just going to give you the 4-day numbers where I think these movies will do over the 4 days. If you want 3 days, I would probably take off like Solo, maybe like 20, 30 million. And then for the other ones, you maybe take off maybe 5 to 10. If you don't want to include the Memorial Day in there. So so for the 4 days, I think you'll see Solo around 150, 160 million. Deadpool probably around 60 or so, 70 for the 4 days. Avengers probably around 20 to 25 for the 4 days. Probably going to see Book Club around maybe 9 or 10 for the 4 days. Life of the Party around 7, probably 8 for the 4 days. And then everything else will probably be under 5 million or right around. They're probably breaking in show us right around that $5 million mark. And that's how I think it'll pan out for the 4-day Memorial Day weekend here this weekend. So I see Mike has appeared on the board. Mike, you're in the spotlight.
I thought you were just going to cancel this show tonight. I'm doing it this late.
Well, in hindsight, I probably should have, but then I'm trying to figure out a way to do it this week, and I couldn't. So that's pretty much why I'm here. But yeah, so
that sounds like that sounds. Anyways, I've been here since 9, so I was waiting patiently.
No, it's okay. I appreciate it.
That's a lie. I was waiting since 9:30 because sometimes you just gotta go handle business and eat cake. How dare you?
That's true. You do. That happens to the best of us. Anything to add on the box office?
Deadpool wins. Han Solo is probably going to win next week, although Star Wars fatigue, I hear, is very real.
That's a good point. It could be. And if it underperforms, we'll certainly point that out. But yeah, we'll see. All in all, it should be a decent weekend, and it should be one that Disney reaps the benefits of again. So, all right. So with that, we move on. We're done with the box office. We move on. We're going to do some TV highlights really quickly because I don't have a lot because I didn't watch much TV. Well, I did watch a lot of TV, but a lot of it's just rerun stuff and sports stuff. So, but I'm going to let Mike go first because I've talked a lot. Mike, you have any TV highlights? Did you hear me?
No.
I asked if you had any. I asked if you had any TV highlights, Mike.
I have seen exactly one new show this week. It was Deception. It was very good. Your boy Grant Ward was on it. He was not, in fact, Grant Ward. Yeah, so I've only seen one thing this week. So I recommend Deception. And I've seen nothing else because I've been busy. That's life.
Yeah, that is life. That is life. I watched a couple of things. I saw the Gotham finale, which I thought was really good. I thought they left it in a very good place. I like the stuff that they did with the Killing Joke over the last few weeks was very good. I thought the episode was good. So I that one I'd recommend. Gotham really came into its own this year. I mean, if you can embrace it for what it is, there was much more focused storytelling this year. I'll give them credit. Really, I mean, it's unfortunate it took to the second from last season to do it, but let's see what else. I watched the Arrow finale, but the less I say, the better. Flash wasn't too bad. It wasn't. Blacklist was okay. I wouldn't recommend it though. I think that show one more season and call it a day. I think they're spinning their wheels. I said that last year, but I think they're really spinning their wheels now. Shield, Agents of Shield was, and I at the risk of spoiling it. If you're ever a fan of the show, you didn't see now. If you're somebody that didn't watch season 5, you want to go watch season 5 because it's pretty clear that they thought that this was the last season. If you watch the episode on Friday, because that was a series finale, all but really one particular storyline, and I wonder if that was just something that I don't know if that was added later. I mean, it couldn't have been added later, but I don't know. Part of me feels like it almost felt like an add-on. All but one storyline was really felt like series finale. It was well done. Jed Whedon again directed it. I'm sure that people are going to be. I mean, some people are upset about the nature of the Avengers involvement, film involvement. I won't spoil what happens there, but if you understand, once you see the episode, okay, and you know what they were doing, and it's obvious that this was meant to probably be the last episode, you'll understand why they handled the Avengers thing the way they did. Because I mean, they would have been boxed into a total corner if they hadn't done it the way they did. So I'll just leave it at that. But it was really good. Let's see, what else was there? There's something else I checked out this week. I don't know what it was though. I'm blanking. I thought I watched two other things, but I can't remember what they were. I always do that. I always think of the first things I think about the shows I watch all the time, and there's things I always try out and I don't remember them. But I watch a lot of things late. What can you say? What can I say? But you know what? In the interest of time, we'll move on. So not a lot of TV highlights this week because we're also winding down too. We're heading into the slower months. Even though there's a lot of summer. I mean, look, summer is not as slow as it used to be for TV, but it is still a little bit of a slower period. So with a lot going on and heading into that slower period, you don't have as many highlights to point out. So yeah, but so that's my TV highlights for this week. I know that was very quick, but we need to save time somewhere, folks. We just do. So, all right, so we'll move on. So that's the end of the entertainment stuff for tonight. We will jump into some. Well, let's do some sports stuff first. Well, no, we'll do the wrestling stuff first. I don't want to talk about Raw and SmackDown too much because I don't feel like much happened on Raw last night. You had the Nia Ronda contract signing thing. Roman and Jinder versus Rollins and Reigns, which was a good match. Braun and Finn at the end, which was a good match. Probably one of Braun's best. Really wasn't a whole lot of movement in terms of what they were trying to do. Because again, they're spinning our wheels into the pay-per-view at this point. So there wasn't a whole lot of. You had the awful segment with Bobby Lashley and his sisters and Sami Zayn. I mean, the only thing it was nice to see Braun Strowman knock over. I almost said Damian Sandow. It wasn't Damian Sandow. It was Elias. Wow. But yeah, it was a fairly uneventful show. And look, Memorial Day is probably gonna be uneventful. So I think again, I feel like at the risk of recycling a phrase from earlier in the show, spinning your wheels. That's what Raw kind of did last night, was spin its wheels, and it's going to do that next week too. Which we expect. It's Memorial Day. What are you going to do? So there's that, and then you have SmackDown tonight, which if you watched it, had some interesting movement in the form of, I'm trying to pull up the results because I didn't watch it. Let's see. Well, you had it in the form of the let's see. We know that Big Cass wasn't going to be involved in the match. They set up the Daniel Bryan. Who did Daniel Bryan face tonight? Jeff Hardy. Sorry, thank you. Bryan versus Hardy, which he ultimately won. Spoiler alert. So Bryan's going to face Samoa Joe next week for the chance to be added to the Money in the Bank match. So you got that going on. They basically did more build up to the Money in the Bank match. You had Big E versus the Miz. Miz won that match. Lana won the Money in the Bank qualifier, so she's going into the women's match. So you have that. They announced the stipulation for AJ Nakamura, last man standing, which none of us are surprised by. Gallows and Anderson won a number one contenders match. And then you had Naomi and Sonya Deville for another qualifier match, and Naomi won that one. So, I mean, you had definitely more movement on SmackDown tonight. But still, I mean, a lot of this was fairly uneventful in terms of fairly predictable, I should say. because I guess why you really could point out who was going to win a lot of these matches. It wasn't really that shocking. Let's see what else here as far as news goes. So it's not a whole lot. The big news this week was the TV deals. Obviously, we know that Raw was staying with USA for 3 times its value, which was a big deal. And then SmackDown, they decided, because of the fact they gave Raw a big deal, they didn't want to keep SmackDown NBC Universal. SmackDown goes to Fox for $1 billion. It's going to be moving to Friday nights. There's talk it's going to be 3 hours. So SmackDown gets a big deal, and there's talk that NXT might even go to Fox. So WWE rakes in the money on TV deals this week, which, look, they're worth more than the pay-per-views. They're going to be worth more than pay-per-views starting next year. And look, TV, there's a lot of money in TV deals now. We talk about in regards to college sports and how it works. It's a lot of money in TV deals, and you're seeing this now in WWE. Anybody that thinks WWE is hurting for money, well, look what happened here. So, or hurting business-wise, look what happened here. So, a big week for WWE in terms of the TV deals. So, again, give credit to WWE. They maximize their value here, and you can say all you want about the 3-hour shows, but they make a lot of money in ad dollars. And then when you add what they get for the TV show for TV to be airing on these networks, it's ridiculous how much money they make. It really is, in a good way. So. Mike, you got any thoughts on Raw, SmackDown, these TV deals, or any of the stuff that's gone on here?
I will make this as quick as I can.
Sure.
Braun Strowman had one of his best matches of his career last night with Finn Balor, and Braun Strowman has had 2 of the best matches of his career the last couple of weeks with Finn Balor and Kevin Owens. So maybe if we put Braun in with guys who can fucking go, maybe Braun will develop a bit more, because he's already well developed in building a good solid power match. But maybe if you put him in more, he'll develop even more with guys better than him as wrestlers. And really build the match. And so I really enjoyed Balor versus Braun, even though they gave Finn more than they gave a lot of guys against Braun. The only guys got more against Braun than Finn did was Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. So there's something, right? He got about as much as Kevin Owens did. Come to think of it, yeah. Anyways, moving on. I refuse to talk about that god-awful Lashley Sami Zayn promo. Lashley is now just another guy in WWE. And they don't know what to do with Bobby Lashley at this point. I think they knew what they wanted to do, but they're like, yeah, but we don't know how to get there, so fuck this. And Sami Zayn, God bless his heart, tried to make it work. That's going to go down. That's going to go down as one of the all-time worst segments in Raw history. And those segments had guys committed to making it work, guys and women, actually, because Sami Zayn will join the ranks of Mick Foley and Alexa Bliss as people who tried their hardest to make all-time awful segments work. But just was above their pay grade. Just was above their pay grade. But then again, I don't think The Rock could make some of those segments work, so it doesn't matter. Yeah. Raw just kind of happened. Ember Moon beat Alexa Bliss in a match that should have gotten another 10 minutes. That would have been cool. I could say I did not give a shit about the Nia Jax Ronda Rousey segment. A lot of other people might have liked it. I don't know. Didn't pay attention to that segment. SmackDown didn't get a chance to see it. Lana wins. Lana won her first singles match thanks to Aiden English, and now Lana's in the Women's Money in the Bank match. Sunville versus Naomi was a lot sloppy. As expected with a Naomi match, it was sloppy as shit. And honestly, I don't blame a lot of that on Sonya Deville. I blame a lot of that on Naomi, who, after all this time, as a fan, I'm watching And I'm like, I don't know if she's gotten better or not. She has gotten better, but she has gotten better since she was a Funkadactyl. But since she was women's champion, or slightly before she was women's champion, it's like, I don't know about this. I don't know if I can trust Naomi in a match with Sonya Deville, who is very good. Sonya Deville is very good, but she's like hasn't reached her zenith as a performer. But from a booking standpoint, why is Naomi winning kick battles with Sonya Deville, the mixed martial artist? That doesn't make any fucking sense, by the way.
That's a very good question.
Why is Naomi winning any striking battles with the mixed martial artist? Naomi is, I'm doing flippy shit and doing splits. Here's my ass, I'm shoving it in your face. That is Naomi. Play to your strengths, WWE. I'm not trying to degrade it. It's just the match was sloppy, and honestly, it didn't tell a great story. The only story it told was, hey, Naomi's in the women's Money in the Bank. Surprise! We are not surprised. She's in there to be flippy and do Kofi Kingston level shit. By the way, Kofi Kingston is not in Money in the Bank. It's Big E. Yeah, that's a decent choice. He had a decent match with The Miz. The Nakamura AJ Styles segment was worth watching. They are, and I know how half the internet's like, only one AJ Styles Nakamura feud. No, guys, shut do me a favor, guy. Shut your goddamn mouth for a second, okay? Yes, Nakamura should have won the title at WrestleMania. Yes, they should have done this heel turn a long time ago. Yes. However, there's no denying. Oh, and yes, Nakamura should have won the title at Backlash. And yes, Nakamura should have won the title at the Greatest Royal Rumble. Yes to all those things. Just because you don't like the way this feud has progressed doesn't mean it's bad. And I can say that because I don't like the way this feud has progressed, but I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying that they're building something. And I think I've told you this, and I think I said this on the show before. They're building a New Japan storyline, which is typically stretched out over a year or two, in the span of 3 months. Mm-hmm. So things are getting condensed and rushed, and it's not great storytelling. But right now, they are telling a decent story. And AJ Styles and Nakamura are coming to the conclusion of this story. Because I think it's ending at Money in the Bank, and I think these two are going to go in slightly separate directions until SummerSlam. Yeah, there we go. So it's not over yet, but it's not it's not. Come on, it's not. Oh my God, will Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar finally end? It's not Rosie O'Donnell versus Donald Trump on WWE. It is not one of the it is not Nakamura and Ziggler. Why is this feud still a thing? It is not Nakamura Corbin. Why is this feud still a thing? Come on. This one's been pretty good. But other than that, Jeff Hardy versus Daniel Bryan was a pretty good match. And I don't know if you've noticed, but Daniel Bryan's been studying his Minoru Suzuki. Minoru Suzuki literally turns Hiroshi Tanahashi's leg into a pretzel with the heel hook. And then all these months later, Daniel Bryan's like, hey, do you know what finish I want to bust out now? The heel hook. Because it looks visually impressive and it hurts like a motherfucker. Because your leg is one way, and then your heel is the other way. And it does not look comfortable. So you can tell Daniel Bryan is studying Minoru Suzuki as well as he should. Minoru Suzuki is the most amazing individual in professional wrestling right now. He's going to be 50 next month, right, Brian?
Kind of crazy.
He's not only going to be 50, he's celebrating his 30th year in professional wrestling, which is one of those milestones. and he's having a free 2-day festival. Free 2-day outdoor festival in Japan. I forgot where it was. I think it's Yokohama, but I could be wrong. In which one of the main events is him wrestling Okada, which will be really good. So, which is going to be outstanding. So, I just wanted to throw that one out there. Oh, and by the way, the other wrestling news that we will never mention other than this, that All-In show that the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody Don't Call Me Rhodes are producing, sold out in a half hour. Good for fucking them.
That's
they took a risk, and at least his first few steps totally paid off. Because that show is sold out. They sold out the Sears Center in Chicago, Illinois. They have this day before convention, and it is looking to be a fucking second WrestleCon. So good for those guys. Now, if they put on a fucking amazing show, and with a lot of the talent they've already got on that show, they should. But, if they could put together an amazing fucking show, they will have succeeded beyond anybody's expectations. And by the way, Stephen Amell from TV's Legends of Tomorrow will be at that show, Brian.
That's what we're gonna say now. Legends of Tomorrow for that one.
To attribute the star to the biggest show on the network, and let's face it. Legends of Tomorrow's it.
Yeah. There are a couple other little things that got out this week. Again, the TV deals were the biggest thing, but there are a couple other little things. Big Show was in the news. They mentioned why Big Show wasn't able to make the Royal Rumble. I guess he had his hip had a problem, and he got infection from the hip surgery he had. So that's why you didn't see Big Show. He'll be back soon. I guess he signed a new 3-year deal. And here's one, Mike, that you're going to be surprised by. I just found this out tonight. Sasha Banks has re-upped with a multi-year deal.
That's incredibly surprising, considering all signs had Sasha Banks on her way out for bigger and better things, according to Sasha Banks. But
yeah, multi-year deal.
She just pulled the Dolph Ziggler.
And apparently, one of the biggest reasons why is because she still moves a ton of merchandise. So, hey, but that's the that it shocked me. Big Show's resigning didn't shock me, but that one shocked me. And what was the other thing I wanted to mention? Was there anything else I wanted to mention, or is that it? No, that's it. All right, so yeah, I wanted to mention those two things. So, yes, that's a little bit of a surprise. Sasha Banks resigned. Big Show, not so much, and Big Show should be coming back soon. I would imagine. So, all right, that's the wrestling stuff. Again, we just wanted to briefly touch on that really, really quickly. Before we get to the sports thing, I realized I forgot to mention something. I mentioned earlier tonight, and when we were talking about like what was going to be happening tonight, I mentioned that we had some upfront stuff to deal with, and really all we had left was CBS and CW because we did all the other ones last week. And I mentioned I wasn't going to touch on it very much, and by that I mean I'm going to be very, very like quick because there's nothing to really talk about in regards to these networks. So when you look at CBS and what they did, first of all, I'm trying to pull up their I'm trying to find the article I just had because it just completely left me. Left my screen, I should say. And NBC and CBS split the TV season victory this year. For those that are wondering, they did split it. Let's see. Why can't I pull up my? It won't. It was just here and now. It won't work. Figures. Here we go. Okay, here we go. I got it now. It came up now. Okay.
What are we waiting for? I haven't been paying attention.
Okay, never mind. All right, so CBS and CW. So here's what you got for TV schedule for both networks. I'll do CBS first. So again, I'm only doing these two next. That's all we have left. CBS will have The Neighborhood on Mondays. The Neighborhood and Happy Together, both sitcoms in the 8 to 9 o'clock hour. Magnum PI, the Magnum PI reboot will be on from 9 to 10. Bull will be moving to Monday nights at 10. So that's your Monday night lineup for CBS. Tuesday night, NCIS, FBI, it's a new show, and NCIS New Orleans. So all drama there on Tuesday night. Not that unusual for them. And then on Wednesday, CBS will have Survivor, SEAL Team, and Criminal Minds. So all returning shows there. Thursday, Big Bang Theory, Young Sheldon, Mom, and the return of Murphy Brown. On Thursday night. So all comedy block on Thursday night with drama SWAT at 10 o'clock. So that's the Thursday night schedule for CBS. Friday night, MacGyver, Hawaii Five-0, and Blue Blood. So basically the same lineup they had this year. No changes there. On Saturday, they'll have Crime Time Saturday and 48 Hours. And then on Sunday, 60 Minutes, show called God Friended Me, NCIS LA, and Madam Secretary. God Friended Me is the new show. So not a lot of new shows for CBS. A lot of returning shows. Only real significant move was them moving Bull to Mondays at 10. That's the only real significant move. So nothing, again, continuing the pattern, nothing really earth-shattering as far as schedules go for these networks. Nothing real shocking, nothing that you think is an outrage, like I would have done that, schedule-wise, that kind of thing. Now the CW. This is where it gets interesting. The Monday night schedule for CW. Mike will be interested in this. Legends of Tomorrow, 8 to 9. Arrow, 9 to 10 on Mondays. So they're going to try to use Legends of Tomorrow to save Arrow on Monday nights. Because the ratings were tanking last year. So let's put it behind the good show, right?
Yes, how grateful. The strong show leading the week.
Oh, goodness. Tuesday night, The Flash and Black Lightning. So they're keeping their superhero shows together. Mondays and Tuesdays. On Wednesdays, Riverdale and a new show, All American. So Riverdale returns on Wednesday. All American's a new show that'll be on Wednesday there. Thursday, Supernatural. Isn't every year supposed to be the last year for that show? I feel like it is. It's still there, though. It does well, though, so that's why. But Supernatural, 8 to 9. Then Legacies, 9 to 10. That's a new show. Friday nights, you have Dynasty from 8 to 9, and Crazy Ex-Girlfriend moving to a new time period from 9 to 10 on Fridays. And then, of course, the weekend, Saturday, you don't have anything to worry about for CW there. Sunday, Supergirl moves to Sunday from 8 to 9, and the reboot of Charmed from 9 to 10, which, I know people are going to say, well, they didn't, first of all, Supergirl was the odd superhero show out because they didn't have a natural matchup for it because everything else was matched up. But putting it with Charmed gives it a nice little female demographic Sunday night when a lot of women watch TV. So it makes a lot of sense. CW actually made a smart move there, I thought. So, generally, this schedule makes sense. Nothing earth-shattering, nothing shocking. I thought they made some good strategic moves. Putting Arrow behind Legends of Tomorrow after what happened last year makes sense. Supergirl and Charm paired together makes sense. It's a good schedule. So this is what I mean. There's not much to talk about here because much like the other networks, and we'll talk about the new shows and preview them all in the fall. We're not going to talk about them now. We're just doing schedules and the way everything got situated. Schedule-wise, this makes sense. Everything kind of clicks together, works together, makes sense. So there's nothing much to talk about there. And, you got some shows that'll be back at mid-season. And, well, we're not going to talk about them in regards to CBS or CW because I don't want to talk about this too long. I just wanted to kind of briefly go into the schedule and kind of leave it at that. And then we'll talk more about things and come fall. So that's really all I wanted to say on that. Oh, and if anybody was a fan of LA to Vegas, that got canceled today after one season on Fox. So a little bit of a late cancellation there, but that came in today. So, Mike, you got anything you want to throw out there? She's out. Yeah. I don't think you heard me.
I did not.
I just want to know if you had anything you wanted to add before we move off the TV stuff.
I can honestly say that I heard about nothing of what you said.
Well, you heard the Arrow
except for
thing.
except for Legends of Tomorrow is now Arrow's benevolent lead-in. I'm assuming they're keeping Flash and Black Lightning on the same night.
Yep, Tuesday. Yep.
Tuesday, and that means Supergirl is on Wednesdays
Supergirl's
now?
on Sunday, leading into Charmed.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot the Charmed remake was a thing, and I heard that's a thing nobody wants. So,
but it makes sense to pair those two together. I mean, it does.
No, it doesn't. Anyways, and I'm assuming Wednesday is Riverdale and Supernatural.
No, Supernatural Thursday 8 to 9. Riverdale is reading into a new show, as is Supernatural.
So iZombie and Jane the Virgin were canceled?
I believe so.
iZombie was canceled?
I think it was. Unless it's a mid-season. I didn't see the mid-season numbers for them. I didn't get this because I didn't use the same. Let's see.
I thought I don't even know if Jane the Virgin's still around. I just kind of assumed that it is at this point.
Let's see. Oh wait a minute, I'm checking out the schedule right now.
Did the 100 also get canceled?
All right. iZombie, Crazy Ex-Girlfriend, which is on the fall schedule, and Jane the Virgin all will be having final seasons next year for CW.
Oh, they are final seasoning all of those things.
Yep. But the only one that's on the fall schedule is Crazy Ex-Girlfriend.
Oh, well.
So the other ones will be mid-season. So yeah.
So I thought iZombie would have a little bit more staying power, to be honest with you. Not that I watch it, but show they haven't tied to the TC shows that they have on the network. So
yeah.
I'm also disappointed that Lucifer's not on. I think that would have been a fantastic thing to have on.
They are airing bonus episodes of Lucifer on Fox. Apparently.
Well, that's great. Doesn't really solve the problem now, does it?
No, it don't. Fox sets air date for 2 bonus episodes of the canceled series. I think the air date is it next week? I thought I saw the press release say next week, but hang on.
I imagine the response to those episodes would be eat and shit, Fox.
Oh, they're putting them on Memorial Day, back to back, Monday night.
So nobody would watch. Okay.
I want you to keep in mind there was originally supposed to be 4 of these episodes. They're only airing 2.
Yes, Lucifer is a show to own on DVD and or Blu-ray.
So they're still giving them a kick in the rear end, which I think is kind of awful. But yeah. It is being shopped around. There is talk that it will get picked up, but I don't know. Apparently it's being, when you compare Lucifer to Timeless they say that Timeless has the better chance of getting the pick up somewhere.
I don't know what Timeless is.
So it's a show NBC can, so it's a sci-fi show. It's not bad, but I honestly can't believe it got a season 2. To be honest, I thought it was done, but anyway. We'll see. We'll see what gets picked up. Anything gets picked up that was canceled during the summer, we'll make sure to note it. There's potential for some shows to get picked up. So, but yeah. So that's that. So I wanted to again get into TV stuff and kind of finish off. We'll preview all the new shows and everything else once we get closer to the fall TV season later on in the summer. So, all right. So without further ado, let's get into our last part of the night here, sports. Really quickly, I want to touch on what's going on with the horse racing. Obviously, Justify won the Preakness. That means that he's 1 race away from the triple crown. So I'm just going to say this because people have been asking me, what do you think? I think he'll probably win it. To win on Preakness and in the Kentucky Derby, given the track conditions, the weather conditions, to win both those races is a testament to how good of a horse this is. So it means that this horse can race in good and bad weather and win in bad weather and bad conditions. So, I mean, if it has good conditions, it should win it easily. But if it's even in bad conditions, you still feel good about it. So, yeah, I think Justify is going to win the Triple Crown. I'd be shocked if he didn't. So a big deal there. I just want, again, people ask me what I thought. That's what I think. So there's not much you can talk about with horse racing. It's either you think this horse can win or you think he can't. And I think this horse can for sure. So that's my little thought on that. All right, I'm not going to do anything else in sports other than NBA for tonight because, again, there's nothing else that needs to be done here tonight. So it's more important just to get to the NBA stuff and where we stand in the playoffs. Now, right now, we have a Game 4 in the West in a series that Golden State leads 2-1. The Rockets have been down in this game a couple of times, but they are out in front by 3 right now, 94-91, with 1:27 left in the fourth. This game at Golden State, a game that Houston has to have. They got utterly destroyed in Game 3. After coming back strong in Game 2, they have got to win this game. If they do not win this game, their season is over. I'm sorry, there's just no way. They have got to win a game in Golden State to make this work, obviously. So right now, it's a little bit of a gut check time for them to hold this lead and get this series back to Houston at 2 games apiece. If they do, then look, there's no way, shape, or form around it. They got to win Game 5 because they go to Game 6 with Golden State having a chance to close it out. That's when Golden State's at their best, and they'll finish that. They won't let that series go 7. They won't. So So Houston's got to get this done, I think, tonight, and I also think they got to get it done in Game 5. They got to get that game, because then at least if they lose that Game 6, which they probably would, I imagine, because Golden State, again, with their backs against the wall, they get the job done. They go home for a Game 7 and try to get it done. So we'll see. But right now, they got a 3-point lead with 42 seconds left. They have got to hold this lead. I think they have to win Game 5 if they have any chance at winning the series. That's just the way it goes right now. It's been a great series, a series of a lot of momentum swings. Obviously, Golden State came out strong in Game 1. Houston with the gut check in Game 2. Golden State wrecks them in Game 3, and then the Rockets, it's been like a back and forth. This has been the best game of this series, and it's the way you kind of want it. You'd rather have a game like this than what you've had where it's just been, well, this game's very much like Game 2. Game 2 and Game 4 are the kind of games you want. They're a little bit more competitive. Game 1 and Game 3 weren't. And at this stage, when you're in the conference finals, you really don't want that. You want it to be more of a back and forth. It's more exciting that way. And that, I mean, it happens a lot. Sometimes you get these, these blowout games, but then the later you get into the series usually become more competitive. And that seems to be that would make you think that's what's going to happen here. And that meant probably in the East as well. So, but we'll see if that happens. But because the East has been kind of the same way where, you've had a couple blowouts early in the series, and then, lately it seems like these games have gotten a little bit closer. So right now, again, 94-91, Houston over Golden State on the road and at Golden State Game 4. Golden State leads the series 2-1, a game that Houston, I think, has to have in the East. That series is now tied up at 2 after Cleveland took care of business at home. Boston did not play well in Game 3. They knew it. They said it as much after the game. They played terrible in Game 3. Cleveland had the win. No votes about it. Cleveland got embarrassed in Boston. Boston was terrific, especially their defense. They got the job done. They didn't let LeBron beat them in Game 1. LeBron didn't have a good game there. They kind of shut him down. They lose that Game 1, and Game 2 it was that Cleveland was a little more competitive, but Boston still took care of business, especially on defense. And really, Game 3 was when Cleveland kind of woke up and saying, "Hey, you know what? Our backs are against the wall. We got to get this done at home." LeBron with the great game, Cleveland gets it done, and then Boston kind of wakes up in Game 4, and then you have more of your back and forth game, kind of like we're getting in the West tonight. But Cleveland holds on thanks to LeBron James having another great game. And now the series is tied up at 2 as they go back to Boston. So, Boston continues their trend where they've been terrible on the road in the playoffs, but great at home. And this series could end up being a situation. Now, I thought Cleveland would win the series as we went in. But after seeing the first 2 games, I thought they didn't have a chance in hell. But as it stands now, it's become apparent that Boston cannot play well on the road. And look, home court could end up playing a huge role in this series. Could end up playing a huge role in maybe even the West series if we see how things go as we go along here. But But in the East, it's playing a big role because, Boston has 2 home games in their pocket, and the way that they played at home, they can win this series without even having to win a road game. And that's why home court is so important. Now, look, there's a feeling that if this Eastern Conference series goes 7 games, that if it goes 7 games, that, Cleveland, even on the road, would wake up and find a way to get the job done. And you could feel that way. But I'm telling you right now, I think Boston would go in that game, even if it's tied up at 3-3 in the series, very confident, and wouldn't fear it. I don't think they would because they know they're at home, and that's where they played their best basketball, and that's where they've dominated these playoffs. So I don't think they'd fear that game as long as it's in their building, which it is. So we'll see where this series ends up now as we go to Boston. Again, Boston, I mean, it's simple as this. Boston has to win their home games, and Cleveland has to win at least 1 game in Boston. So, I mean, that's where you're at with that series, which has been an entertaining series. Kind of like the West series, where there's been a lot of momentum swings and, been real streaky. Boston winning the first 2 at home. Cleveland winning the next 2 at home. Home court's been pretty big. But that's where you're at with that series. And then the West has been, Golden State and Houston split the first 2 games, and right now it's looking like they're going to split the 2 games in Golden State. So it's been a little bit more competitive in terms of where they're at now. But you've had kind of the same swings where one team has maybe dominated 1 or 2 games, the other team has been a little more gritty in the other 2. So yeah, that's. So as we stand right now, we're through 4 games in both series. Eastern Conference Finals tied at 2 games apiece, and the Western Conference Finals
it's tied now.
It's tied now this went final at 2 games apiece. So, all right. So Houston got the job done. Now the next step for Houston is they gotta win Game 5. They gotta win Game 5 and take control of the series, and then try to get this series done in 6 if they can. Or sorry, there's an ad going on. They're a little less but then something happened. Why is it still doing that? Fake news. There it goes. All right. That was weird because I clicked it off and it was still going on. That was weird. But anyway. So Houston, look, you won this game. You got to win at least Game 5. And then, you're playing with the house's money in Game 6. Put the pressure on them. That's where you're at right now. You have to win Game 5. It doesn't mean anything if you just drop Game 5 in your building. Doesn't mean a damn thing that you won this game. So, but yeah, so that's where these series stand right now. Again, entertaining for very entertaining series, not the most entertaining or dramatic or compelling, but because you've had a lot of swings back and forth. Again, some teams there's been some blowout games. Some games have been one-sided. We saw Golden State do that. We've seen Boston do that, but for most part, they've been entertaining series, and they should get better here as we go deeper into them now, as both series will enter a Game 5, and we know at least both series will go 6 games as it stands right now. So, Mike, you got any thoughts on where we're at with the NBA here?
Somebody should probably win an away game.
Yeah.
In the West, I still think Golden State's going to win because this game was really close and it probably shouldn't have been.
Right.
But it was really close. So, yeah. I still think it's going to be Golden State and Cleveland, but it'll be interesting to see how we get there.
I would agree with you. I think when all is said and done, I think Golden State's going to win this series. I'm not as convinced for Cleveland because I need to see. Here's the thing, okay? Even though I still think even if Boston wins Game 5 at home, that Cleveland can still somehow win the series. And that's because, I expect Cleveland to win Game 6 the way they played at home. But here's the thing. Even if Boston wins Game 5, I need to see Cleveland compete. I can't see them do what they did in the first 2 games of this series. Because they've been a different team in Cleveland, but Cleveland's played better on the road all year than Boston has. I need to see that Cleveland team. Because even if Cleveland loses Game 5, but they played well in it, at least I'll feel confident that if it gets to a Game 7, they have a chance. If they don't, then I won't. because so far what Cleveland's done in Boston's been terrible. You know, we give a lot of credit to Boston's defense, but Cleveland has not looked good in Boston at all. So it's very important that Cleveland, I mean, look, it'd be great if Cleveland can win the game in Boston because it takes a lot of pressure off them, but at least play well in Boston. Give yourself some confidence of playing in that arena. That's the big thing. Of course, try to get the win too, obviously. But so right now, both conference finals tied at 2 games apiece, and that's great. You know, you want the series to go deep. Ideally, you want them both to go 7. That's what you want. And right now, you know, at least going to go 6. So that's good for the league. After a lackluster second round, I mean, this hasn't been the best conference finals, but it's been better than what we got the last round. And again, should get better here as you go along. So that's where you're at with both those series. So we'll obviously, as we go along, talk about by the time we talk next week, both series could be over. So we'll see where we're at. We might have an NBA Finals matchup next week. So if that's the case, we'll obviously preview it and talk about it and all that good stuff. So with that being said, we have done everything that we have to do. We are done for the night. As always, the show might be over. It does not mean you have to stop interacting or contributing to the show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your thoughts, reactions, or comments, things we talked about in the show. Topic ideas or breaking news items related to sports, entertainment, and wrestling you want us to cover. Questions about the show, scheduling the show, or any of that, or anything related to the show. Any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. You can email us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 is what you want to use when tweeting anything regarding our show, whether it's directly to us, just talking about our show in general. Make sure you use that hashtag if you can. And, of course, on Facebook, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so that you can interact with us. Again, Facebook and Twitter, make sure you follow us on both. On Twitter, at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 is what you want to use when tweeting regarding our show or when you're tweeting to us. And, of course, on Facebook, In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and like our fan page so that you can interact with us. That way you can get all the latest updates about the show, interact with us, and all that good stuff. So make sure you follow us on social media on Facebook and Twitter so that you can have access to all the information that you need. Any last-minute postponements or cancellations or anything like that will be put on there. And, of course, you can interact with us as well on there too. So that's why you want to make sure that you follow us on Facebook and Twitter. So make sure that you do that so you can have access to all that and more. If you'd like to keep up with the show or look back at classic episodes, you have 2 ways to do that. You can either stream us anytime on Google Plus and YouTube. Just search for In the Spotlight 411 on both those sites. And when you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites where you can stream any of the episodes we've ever produced for Google Plus and YouTube. That's every episode from mid-October 2015 right up until tonight's current episodes. Episodes available for you to stream anytime you want. So if you're interested in streaming those episodes, just make sure you go to Google Plus and YouTube and search for In the Spotlight 411. If streaming is not your thing, maybe you prefer to listen to us or listen to us on the go, or you're interested in older episodes of the show, if any of that applies to you, check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on those sites. And once you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites where you can have access to you will have access to every episode we've ever produced in the nearly 8 years we've been doing the show. So all of our original episodes from Blog Talk Radio from October 2010 to January 2011, all of our talk show episodes from January 2011 all the way up to mid-October 2015, and all of our Google Plus and YouTube episodes from mid-October 2015 all the way up to tonight's current episode are available for you to stream, for you to listen to anytime you want. All episodes are in audio format for your convenience, including our Google Plus and YouTube episodes, which are transferred into audio format so you can listen to them anytime you want, on the go, at work, wherever you want to listen to them. Again, whether you're keeping up with current episodes, you missed an episode, or you want to check out an episode from years ago, if you're a new fan or a longtime fan, a longtime fan wants to check out an episode, again, they haven't listened to in a while, or a new fan wants to check out episodes from way back when for the first time, or, again, just keeping up with current episodes. If any of that applies, you can do all that and more on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, to search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes are your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes on Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your ways to keep up with the show and look back at classic episodes. Search for In the Spotlight 411. Again, just search for In the Spotlight 411 on those sites, and you'll be able to do all that and more. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
It's time for bed.
Thank myself for another great show. Pat myself on the back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. So those to be watching or listening to this later at some point, thank you to you as well. Again, sorry for the late time. Again, family stuff, a lot of things going on, but yeah. So we had to get in tonight. We did, and I did it in an hour, which is fine. So that's right about what I want to do. So I did it. So that's good. This is our only show for the week. Again, our next show, if we continue our summer schedule, one show a week. Next show will be a week from tonight on Tuesday, May the 29th at 9 o'clock from Eastern Time, broadcasting live here on YouTube. That is when our next episode will be. I hope you all have a great rest of your week, a great Memorial Day weekend, and a great start to your week next week. Be safe, enjoy. We'll see you back here 1 week from tonight on Tuesday, May the 29th at 9 o'clock from Eastern Time, broadcasting live here on YouTube. We'll do box office beat, TV highlights, wrestling, NBA playoffs, any other sports stuff we have to go. All those good things we'll do next week. Until then, have a good night, everybody.